The emergency session had been going for 6 hours straight. Representatives from 40 different worlds filled the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, their voices rising in anger and fear. Holographic displays showed the same grim statistics over and over. 30 merchant convoys lost in 3 months, 8 colonies raided, thousands dead or missing. The Ravager Collective was growing bolder with each attack, and nobody seemed able to stop them. Diana Walsh sat in the human delegation section, her hands folded on the desk in front of her. She had been Earth's ambassador for 2 years now, and she had learned when to speak and when to listen. Right now, listening was more important. "The border systems are collapsing," shouted Ambassador Rillan of the Telleran Republic. His blue skin had turned almost purple with stress. "My people are fleeing their homes. The Ravagers take everything. They leave nothing but wreckage." "Then strengthen your defenses," countered High General Voss of the Draylan Empire. His scales gleamed under the chamber lights as he stood to his full 3-meter height. "The Empire has offered military support. You refuse it. Perhaps you prefer chaos to accepting our help." "Your help comes with a price we cannot pay," Rillan shot back. "You demand control of our trade routes. That is conquest by another name." Diana watched the argument spiral. This was the 3rd such session this month. The pattern never changed. The smaller species begged for protection. The military powers offered help with conditions attached. Everyone argued, nobody acted, and the Ravagers kept killing. Her communication device vibrated silently against her wrist. She glanced down at the coded message. Her pulse quickened, but her face remained neutral. "Convoy Delta 9 under attack. Civilian transport, 40,000 souls, requesting immediate intervention." She knew what Convoy Delta 9 carried. Refugee families from 6 different species fleeing the violence in the outer territories. Children, elderly, people who had already lost everything once. Diana stood slowly. The movement caught the attention of Council Speaker Meridian, who raised one crystalline hand for silence. "The human delegation wishes to speak." All eyes turned to Diana. Earth was still new to galactic politics. Humans had only made first contact 11 years ago. Most species considered them minor players, interesting but ultimately irrelevant. In the grand scheme of things. "I request a recess," Diana said clearly. 1 hour. Voss snorted with derision. "While we debate, people die. What can 1 hour possibly change?" Diana met his eyes without flinching. "Everything." She left the chamber before anyone could respond, moving quickly through the corridors of the orbital station. Her security team followed, used to her sudden departures. They had no idea what she was really doing during these recesses. In her private quarters, Diana activated the quantum communication array. The device cost more than most planetary defense systems, but Earth had spared no expense. The connection established instantly, bypassing normal communication delays across vast distances. The screen showed a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. Captain Rebecca Stone, commander of humanity's most closely guarded secret. "I saw the alert," Stone said without preamble. "We're already moving." "The Council will know," Diana warned. "Once you drop stealth, there's no going back." "I know," Stone's jaw tightened. "But there are 40,000 people about to die. Secrecy doesn't matter if we lose our souls protecting it." Diana nodded. She had argued the same thing to the Joint Chiefs back on Earth 3 months ago. Humanity had been hiding its true capabilities for years, building and watching while the galaxy tore itself apart. The time for hiding was over. "Do what you do best, Captain. I'll handle the politics." "Good luck with that," Stone said with a faint smile. "You're going to need it more than I will." The transmission ended. Diana stood alone in her quarters, feeling the weight of what was about to happen. 5 years ago, after Ravager pirates had slaughtered 200 human colonists on a mining station, Earth's nations had done something unprecedented. They had united in secret. Every major power had contributed resources, technology, personnel. The project had cost more than any single endeavor in human history. They had built the Sentinel. a supercarrier 4 kilometers long, equipped with technology decades beyond anything the galaxy knew humans possessed. Advanced stealth systems kept it hidden from every sensor array in known space. 300 fighter craft, 8,000 crew members, weapon systems that had been tested in absolute secrecy. For 3 years, the Sentinel had been operating in the shadows, protecting convoys, eliminating pirate bases, saving lives without ever revealing itself. The crew had made sacrifices Diana could barely comprehend. They lived away from their families, unable to send messages home, unable to tell anyone where they were or what they did. They had volunteered for this isolation because they believed in the mission. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ask nothing in return. Now that mission was about to become very public. Diana checked her chronometer. Stone would reach Convoy Delta 9 in 40 minutes. The Ravager fleet would already be there, expecting easy prey. They had no idea what was coming for them. She returned to the council chamber exactly 1 hour later. The arguing had not stopped. If anything, it had grown worse. Rillan was practically begging now, his voice breaking as he described the latest attack on his colony worlds. Diana took her seat and waited. She did not have to wait long. An aide rushed into the chamber, holding a data pad with shaking hands. He went straight to Speaker Meridian and whispered urgently. The crystalline being's face shifted through several colors, indicating shock. "Silence," Meridian's voice boomed through the chamber. "We are receiving reports of an unknown vessel engaging the Ravager fleet at the following coordinates." The holographic display changed, showing a star map. A single massive signature appeared, larger than anything in the Ravager Armada, larger than most space stations. The identifier tag was unknown to the Galactic database. Then the tag updated, with new information transmitted from the vessel itself. USCS Sentinel, United Species Carrier Ship, Earth Federation. Voss stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. "Impossible. Humans do not have carrier capability. They barely have a functional navy." Diana stood as well, her voice calm and clear. "We let you believe that." The chamber erupted in chaos. The alarms screaming through the Sentinel's Combat Information Center were not unexpected. They had been tracking the Ravager fleet for 2 days, watching them close in on Convoy Delta 9 like predators circling wounded prey. The timing was perfect for an ambush. The convoy was too far from any military support, moving through an empty sector where nobody could hear their distress calls. Nobody except the Sentinel. Rebecca Stone stood in the center of the CIC, surrounded by holographic displays showing every ship within 1,000 kilometers. Her crew worked with practiced efficiency at their stations, voices calm despite the situation. They had trained for this moment for years. Some of them had been on the Sentinel since it first left Earth orbit 3 years ago. Others had rotated in 6 months ago, replacing crew members who needed to return home before their families forgot their faces. "Status of the convoy," Stone said quietly. Lieutenant Alan Cross looked up from his sensor station. 40 freighters in defensive formation. They've detected the Ravager fleet and are attempting to run. But they're cargo haulers, Captain. Top speed is barely half what the raiders can do. Estimated contact in 11 minutes. Composition of the Ravager force: 214 vessels, mix of frigates, destroyers, and assault boats. Flagship is a heavy cruiser, probably Grath the Render's personal ship. He's wanted for 70 different war crimes across 12 systems. Stone nodded slowly. Grath was notorious for his cruelty. He did not just raid ships. He took prisoners, sold them into slavery, or worse. His reputation was built on making examples of those who resisted. Entire crews had been spaced alive as warnings to others. Commander Paul Torres approached from the navigation station. His dark eyes were troubled. "Captain, once we drop stealth, the entire galaxy will know we exist. Earth will have to answer questions we've been avoiding for years." "I know, Paul. The political fallout could be severe. The Draylen Empire won't like finding out we've had this level of military capability all along. They might see it as a threat." Stone turned to face him fully. What do you think we should do? Torres was quiet for a moment. He looked past Stone at the main display, where tiny dots represented the convoy ships. 40 vessels full of families who had already fled their homes once. People who had lost everything to violence and now faced losing their lives too. I think we save them, he said finally. Politics can sort itself out later. Stone smiled. Good answer, helm plot intercept course, maximum speed. Aye, Captain, intercept course plotted. Communications, send a flash message to Ambassador Walsh. Tell her we're going active. Message sent, Captain. Stone took a deep breath. 3 years of secrecy were about to end. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, 10 years old now. Emily had been 7. When Stone had kissed her goodbye and told her mommy had to go away for a while, the lies had hurt more than the separation. When this was over, at least Emily would know the truth, would know her mother had been trying to save lives. All hands, this is the captain. Her voice transmitted to every section of the massive ship. In approximately 9 minutes, we will engage hostile forces threatening a civilian convoy. We are going to drop our stealth systems and show the galaxy what humanity really is. I know you've all sacrificed so much to serve in secret. You've missed birthdays, weddings, anniversaries. You've lied to everyone you love about where you are and what you do. Today, that ends. Today, they all find out. Make every minute of training count. Make every sacrifice worth it. Show them why we do this. Stone out. A wave of acknowledgments came back from across the ship. Engineering, medical, flight operations, Marines. 8,000 people ready to put themselves between civilians and killers. Helm, execute intercept. Drop stealth on my mark. The Sentinel surged forward, its massive engines pushing the ship to speeds that would have been impossible just 20 years ago. Human engineering had made leaps forward once they had access to alien technology salvaged from crashed probes. They had studied, adapted, improved. The galaxy thought humans were barely spacefaring. They had no idea. Contact in 3 minutes, Cross reported. The Ravagers are beginning their attack run. Convoy ships are scattering. Stone watched the display. The refugee ships were trying to break formation, each one running in a different direction. It was a desperate tactic. Maybe a few would escape while the raiders focused on the others, but most would die. All fighters to launch stations. Prepare weapon systems. Throughout the Sentinel, 300 fighter pilots were already strapped into their cockpits. The hangar bays were open to space, held back only by atmospheric force fields. Each pilot knew their role. They had practiced this scenario 100 times in simulation. Now it was real. Captain, the flagship is broadcasting, said the communications officer. Audio only. Let me hear it. A harsh, grating voice filled the CIC. Attention convoy vessels, this is Grath the Render. Your lives are forfeit. Your cargo is mine. Surrender now and I will kill you quickly. Resist and you will beg for death. Before I grant it. Several crew members at their stations tensed. Stone kept her expression neutral. How close are we? She asked quietly. 30 seconds to intercept range, Captain. Time to weapons lock. 15 seconds after we drop stealth. Stone counted down silently in her head. She thought about every person on those convoy ships. Families huddled together, holding their children. Crew members probably armed with nothing but handheld weapons, knowing they were about to die but standing ready anyway. People who had done nothing except try to escape violence, now facing it again. Drop stealth, Stone said calmly. Launch all fighters, show them what humanity protects. The void of space erupted with light. 4 kilometers of warship materialized between the raiders and their prey, running lights blazing like a promise of salvation. 300 fighters burst from the hangar bays in perfect formation, their engines leaving trails of brilliant blue fire. Grath's mocking laughter on the open channel cut off mid-sound. Lyra pressed her face against the viewport, her small hands trembling against the cold glass. The 9-year-old Telleran girl had been watching the approaching ships for the last hour, seeing the blinking lights get closer and closer. Her mother held her younger brother behind them, whispering prayers in their native language. Around them, in the cargo hold converted to passenger space, 200 other refugees waited for the end. The ship's captain had been honest with them an hour ago. They could not outrun the raiders. They could not fight. All they could do was pray that the attack would be quick. Some of the adults were crying. Others sat in silent acceptance. A few held makeshift weapons, knowing they were useless but needing to die trying. Then something impossible happened. Lyra's sharp eyes caught it first. The stars in front of them simply disappeared. Not gradually like something passing in front of them, all at once as if a massive door had slammed shut across space itself. Her breath fogged the viewport as she stared. "Mama, what is that?" Before her mother could answer, lights blazed to life. Running lights, thousands of them, outlining something so huge that Lyra's mind struggled to understand the scale. The ship they were on was the largest thing she had ever seen before this moment. This new vessel made it look like a toy. The intercoms crackled. Throughout the convoy, "All ships, this is the USCS Sentinel. You are under our protection. Maintain current heading. Do not be afraid." The voice was human. Lyra knew about humans. They were the new species, the ones who had just joined the galactic community. Her teacher back on the colony had said they were friendly but not very advanced. They had small ships and hardly any military. This ship was not small. Across the raider fleet, confusion turned to anger. Grath the Render stared at his screens in disbelief. One ship. These fools had sent one ship against his entire armada. He had 214 vessels under his command. He had crushed planetary defense forces with less. "All ships weapons free. Destroy that carrier, then we finish the convoy." His fleet surged forward, spreading out in a practiced attack formation. They had done this 1,000 times. Overwhelm with numbers, strike from multiple angles, tear apart anything that stood against them. It had never failed. The human ship did not run. It did not even seem concerned. Instead, its hangar bays opened like great mouths, and fighters poured out in perfect formation. Hundreds of them, moving with precision that made Grath's pilots look like drunken children. The first wave of Ravager ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Sentinel, enough firepower to crack a moon. The carrier's defensive systems engaged. Point defense lasers, faster and more accurate than anything Grath had seen, picked off missiles before they could reach their target. Energy shields, far stronger than their size should have allowed, absorbed the plasma fire without even flickering. Then the human fighters reached weapons range. What happened next would be studied in military academies for years. The human pilots moved like they shared one mind. They did not swarm or charge recklessly. They flew in coordinated teams of 4, each team supporting the others. Their weapons were different too. Not the standard plasma cannons or particle beams every military in the galaxy used. These were something new. Railguns that fired solid projectiles at impossible speeds. Missiles that adjusted their course mid-flight, impossible to shake or confuse. A Ravager frigate exploded as railgun rounds punched through its engines. Another lost its weapons array to a perfectly placed missile strike. A third found itself surrounded by 4 human fighters that disabled its systems without destroying the ship. "They're targeting specific systems," Grath's tactical officer shouted. "They're not trying to kill us, they're trying to disable us." "Then they're fools," Grath snarled. "All ships ramming speed. If we can't shoot them down, we'll crash into them." 20 Ravager ships broke formation, their engines burning at maximum power as they dove toward the human fighters. It was a suicide tactic, but it would take some of the humans with them. That was enough. The human response was instant. The fighter formations split, moved, reformed. They did not panic. They did not scatter. Every pilot knew exactly where every other pilot would be. The Ravager ships found themselves flying through empty space, overshooting their targets. Before they could turn around, human fighters were on their tails, disabling their engines with surgical precision. Aboard the Sentinel, Stone watched the battle unfold on the holographic display. Her fighters were performing exactly as trained. 0 casualties so far, 70 Ravager ships disabled. The rest were beginning to break formation, their confidence shattered. "Captain picking up life signs on the Ravager flagship," Cross reported. "Multiple species. They're not crew. I think they're prisoners." Stone's expression hardened. "Launch Marine boarding teams. I want Grath alive and those prisoners freed." "Aye, Captain." Two assault shuttles dropped from the Sentinel's belly, escorted by a dozen fighters. They cut through the chaos of battle, ignoring the few Ravager ships still trying to fight. The flagship's weapons were already disabled. It hung in space, helpless, as human Marines cut through the hull and breached the interior. Lyra watched all of this from her viewport, her eyes wide. The raiders who had seemed so terrifying an hour ago were being swept aside like insects. The massive human ship had not even moved from its position between the convoy and the attackers. It just sat there, a wall of metal and purpose, while its fighters did the work. "Why are they helping us?" Lyra whispered. Her mother had no answer. She was crying, but not from fear anymore. Relief had broken through the terror she had been holding back for so long. Around them, other refugees were reacting the same way. Some laughed, some sobbed, some just stared in amazement. A new voice came over the convoy's intercoms. Calm, steady. "Human, this is Captain Rebecca Stone of the USCS Sentinel. The hostile fleet has been neutralized. Medical teams are standing by if anyone needs assistance. You are safe now." Lyra looked at her mother. "Are humans always like this?" "I don't know, little one, but I hope so." The Galactic Council chamber had descended into absolute chaos. Representatives were shouting over each other, some demanding explanations, others making accusations. Security personnel stood nervously at their posts, unsure if they should intervene or just let everyone vent their anger and fear. Diana Walsh stood in the center of it all, waiting. She had expected this reaction. You could not hide a warship the size of a city and then reveal it in the middle of a battle without causing political earthquakes. She caught the eye of Speaker Meridian, who looked like they were considering calling for a full evacuation of the chamber. Finally, Meridian's crystalline hand came down on the podium with a sound like breaking glass. The sharp noise cut through the shouting. "Order, we will have order, or I will clear this chamber." Meridian's voice carried a harmonic undertone that made everyone's teeth ache. The representatives slowly returned to their seats, though angry muttering continued. "Ambassador Walsh, you will explain now." Diana stepped forward, her hands clasped behind her back. She had practiced this speech 100 times. Now the moment was here, and every word would matter. 5 years ago, human colonists on mining station Prosperity 7 were attacked by Ravager pirates. 214 civilians were killed. Men, women, children. The raiders took everything of value and left the bodies floating in vacuum. That was humanity's introduction to the reality of galactic frontier life. The chamber was silent now. Everyone knew the story. Pirate attacks were common enough that most governments barely acknowledged them anymore. The cost of protecting every remote settlement was simply too high. "Earth's nations looked at what happened," Diana continued. "We looked at the Council's response, which was to send condolences and file a report. We looked at the military forces of the galaxy, too busy fighting each other over trade routes and territory to protect civilians. We made a decision." "You decided to build a secret warship," Voss interrupted, his scaled face twisted in anger. "You lied to this council, you misrepresented your military capabilities. That is a violation of first contact protocols." Diana met his glare without flinching. "We decided that if nobody else would protect the innocent, we would. The Sentinel was built in secret because we knew that if we announced it, species like yours would demand we surrender it or share the technology. You would have turned it into another piece in your political games. Instead, we used it for what it was meant for, saving lives." A new voice spoke up. Ambassador Rillan of the Telleran Republic, his blue skin still showing stress colors, but his tone was thoughtful now. "How long has this ship been operating?" 3 years. In that time, the Sentinel has responded to 47 distress calls. We have rescued over 300,000 civilians of 18 different species. We have eliminated 23 pirate bases. We have never asked for payment. We have never demanded territory or political concessions. We just did the work." "Impossible," scoffed another delegate. "We would have noticed." "You did notice," Diana said quietly. "Pirate activity in 7 sectors dropped significantly over the last 3 years. Trade convoys started arriving on time. Distress calls suddenly had responses before official military could mobilize. You noticed. You just assumed it was luck or that the pirates were moving elsewhere. It never occurred to you that someone was actively hunting them." Meridian's crystalline features shifted through several colors, indicating deep thought. "The disappearances, the reports of entire pirate fleets vanishing without trace, that was you." "That was us." The chamber erupted in questions. How many ships did Earth have? Where were they built? What other secrets was humanity hiding? Diana raised her hand for quiet. "Earth has one carrier, the Sentinel. We poured resources from every nation into building it. It nearly bankrupted us. We did it anyway because we believed it was right. And before you ask, no, we will not surrender it. No, we will not share all the technology. And no, we will not stop protecting those who need protection." Voss stood, his full height making him tower over most of the other delegates. "This is unacceptable. The Draylen Empire cannot allow such a powerful weapon to operate without oversight. We demand the Sentinel be placed under Council control immediately." "Denied," Diana said simply. "You cannot deny the Empire's legitimate security concerns." "I just did." The confrontation hung in the air like a drawn blade. Diana knew this moment would define everything that came after. If she showed weakness now, Earth would spend the next decade fighting political battles while people died. If she pushed too hard, she might trigger the very conflict the Sentinel was supposed to prevent. A smaller voice broke the tension. Ambassador Pell of the Ventari Assembly, a species of four-armed beings known for their diplomatic skills, raised one hand. "Perhaps we are asking the wrong questions. Ambassador Walsh, what does Earth want?" Diana looked at the small ambassador gratefully. "We want a galaxy where merchant ships can travel without fear, where colonists can build homes without wondering if pirates will come in the night, where refugees can flee war without facing death on the way to safety. The Sentinel can't do that alone. We need partners, not controllers, partners." "Partners who follow your lead," Voss said dismissively. "Partners who share our values," Diana corrected. "Protection of civilian life above all else. No political conditions attached to rescue operations. Accountability for those who commit atrocities. If your empire can agree to those principles, then yes, we would welcome your partnership." Rillan stood slowly. His people had lost more to pirate raids than almost any other species. "The Telleran Republic would be honored to partner with Earth on this initiative. You saved our people today. You have been saving them for years without asking for anything in return. That is the kind of ally we need." One by one, other delegates began to stand. Not all of them. The Draylen representatives remained seated, as did several others who saw Earth's revelation as a threat to their own power. But enough stood that it was clear the council was divided. Meridian watched the chamber, then nodded slowly. "This matter requires extensive discussion, but for now I propose we send a formal thank you to the crew of the Sentinel for their actions today. 40,000 lives saved. That is not nothing." Diana allowed herself a small smile. It was not a complete victory, but it was a start. The message came through encrypted channels 2 weeks after the Sentinel's public reveal. Stone read it twice before calling Tors into her ready room. The second in command took one look at her face and closed the door. Behind him, "Bad news. The Draylen Empire is sending a battle fleet to escort us back to Earth. They want our weapons systems deactivated during transit. For safety, they claim." Tors leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "That's not an escort, that's an arrest." "That's what I thought too." Stone pulled up a holographic map showing their current position. "We're in neutral space, 3 days from the nearest council station. The Draylen fleet will intercept us in about 8 hours." "How many ships?" 32 heavy cruisers, the rest destroyers and frigates. Admiral Court is commanding. He's got a reputation for following orders to the letter, no matter how ugly those orders are. Tors was quiet for a moment. The Sentinel could probably win a fight against 30 Draylen ships. Their technology was better, their crew more skilled. But winning would mean killing potentially thousands of Draylen personnel. It would mean war. Everything the Sentinel stood for would be destroyed in the process of defending it. "What are our orders from Earth?" Tors asked. "Ambassador Walsh says to use our best judgment. The politicians are still arguing about how to respond. Half want us to comply and sort it out diplomatically. The other half want us to refuse and dare the Draylen to start shooting." "Helpful." Stone managed a tired smile. "Very." The communication console chimed. Cross's voice came through. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call. Mining colony on the asteroid Theta 9. They're under attack." Stone and Tors exchanged glances. "Ravagers." "Yes, Captain, what's left of Grath's fleet, about 30 ships. They're hitting the colony hard. Local defenses are overwhelmed." Tors checked his data pad. "Theta 9 is in Draylen space. That's their responsibility." "Cross, what's the Draylen fleet's position relative to the colony?" A pause. "They're actually closer to it than we are, Captain. About 6 hours out if they move now." Stone felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Have they altered course to respond?" "No, Captain. They're still on intercept course with us." Tors understood immediately. They're going to let that colony die just to make a point about their authority. They care more about controlling us than protecting their own people. Stone stood, her decision made. "Helm, plot course for Theta 9, maximum speed." Captain, Tors said carefully, "If we ignore the Draylen." "Fleet's orders, Court will have justification to use force." "Then let him make that choice. I won't let people die because we're worried about politics." She activated the ship-wide communication. "All hands, battle stations. We have civilians under attack. Prepare for combat operations." The Sentinel turned, its massive engines burning bright as it accelerated toward the mining colony. Behind them, sensors showed the Draylen fleet adjusting course to follow. Stone watched the tactical display, running calculations in her head. They could reach the colony, fight off the raiders, and evacuate the miners. But the Draylen fleet would arrive during or shortly after the battle. They would have to deal with both threats. "Open a channel to Admiral Court," she ordered. The holographic display showed a Draylen officer whose scales were decorated with military honors. His expression was stern, disapproving. "Captain Stone, you are ordered to halt and power down your weapons." "Negative, Admiral. We are responding to a distress call from a mining colony. Your colony, as it happens. Located at Theta 9 in your own territory." Court's face did not change. "I am aware of the situation. The colony will be dealt with after you are in custody." "After, Admiral, that colony has 3,000 miners. The raiders will kill or enslave every single one of them if nobody intervenes. You're 6 hours away. We can be there in 4. "My orders are clear. The Sentinel is to be escorted back to Earth immediately. You will comply." Stone leaned forward. "Your orders are to let your own people die? Is that really the empire you serve?" For the first time, Court's expression flickered. Just for a moment, something like shame crossed his features. Then the military discipline reasserted itself. "The Empire's strategic concerns outweigh individual settlements. You will comply, or we will open fire." "Then you'll have to shoot us in the back while we're saving your miners." Stone cut the channel before he could respond. Tors shook his head slowly. "That could have gone better." "Could have gone worse, too. He's not shooting yet." "Give him time." The next 4 hours were tense. The Sentinel raced toward Theta 9 while the Draylen fleet followed, close enough to strike but holding their fire. Stone wondered what was going through Court's mind. He had his orders, but he also had to know his own crew was listening to every communication. They knew their people were dying while their admiral chased a foreign ship that was trying to help. "Entering weapons range of Theta 9, Cross reported. Detecting 32 Ravager vessels, they're bombarding the colony's shelters. Life signs are holding, but they won't last much longer. Launch fighters, all weapons free. Let's make this quick. The Sentinel's fighters burst from their bays like arrows from a bow. The Ravager fleet, already engaged with the colony's weak defenses, suddenly found themselves fighting on two fronts. It was no contest. The human pilots had trained for exactly this scenario. Disable, capture, protect. No wasted shots, no unnecessary casualties. 15 minutes into the battle, something unexpected happened. 3 Draylen destroyers broke formation from Court's fleet and moved toward the combat zone. For a terrifying moment, Stone thought they were going to fire on the Sentinel. Instead, they opened fire on the Ravager ships. "Captain, receiving communication from one of those destroyers," the communications officer said, surprise clear in her voice. "Commander Yevris wants to speak with you." The hologram showed a younger Draylen officer, his scales showing colors of determination. "Captain Stone, I'm disobeying direct orders by doing this, but I will not stand by while my people die. My crew agrees, we're with you." Stone felt relief wash through her. "Good to have you, Commander." "Admiral Court is threatening to fire on us," Yevris said calmly. "I told him he'll have to explain to the miners' families why he shot the people trying to save them." "What did he say?" "Nothing yet, but he's not advancing either." 3 months later, the Sentinel approached Gateway Station with an escort that would have been unthinkable before the battle at Theta 9. 2 Telleran cruisers flanked its port side. A Ventari destroyer held position to starboard. The 3 Draylen ships that had defied their admiral flew in formation ahead, their running lights synchronized with the carriers in a show of unity that made the station's news crews scramble for the best camera angles. Rebecca Stone watched through the viewports as her ship came alongside the massive orbital platform. Gateway Station was neutral territory, a place where all species could meet without the political complications of planetary visits. It had taken 3 months of negotiations to arrange this moment. 3 months of arguments, compromises, and a few threats from Diana Walsh that had made even seasoned diplomats nervous. "Nervous, Captain?" Torres asked from beside her. "Terrified," she admitted. "Fighting pirates is easy compared to this. You're about to address representatives from 40 species. What's scary about that?" Stone gave him a look. "I'm a military officer, Paul. I give orders, I don't give speeches." "Then just tell them what you told us, why we do this." The Sentinel docked with a series of mechanical clangs that echoed through the hull. Stone had changed into her dress uniform for the occasion, the dark blue fabric crisp and formal. She hated dress uniforms. They reminded her of funerals and ceremonies where people talked too much and said too little. The honor guard was waiting when she stepped off the ship. 20 Marines in full ceremonial gear, their rifles held at attention. Behind them stood a crowd of civilians, many holding signs with messages in dozens of languages. Some she could read. "Thank you, heroes, Earth stands for us." One sign was simpler than the others, held by a small blue-skinned girl with large eyes. Lyra, the refugee child from Convoy Delta 9. Her sign just said, "We remember." Stone felt her throat tighten. She nodded to the girl who beamed back at her. The walk through Gateway Station took longer than expected. People kept stopping her, wanting to shake her hand or just say thank you. A Telleran woman with tears streaming down her face grabbed Stone's hands and pressed them to her forehead in some kind of blessing. A massive Orlan trader, his fur marked with old scars, simply stood at attention and saluted as she passed. "They love you," Torres murmured. "They love what we represent," Stone corrected. "Hope that someone gives a damn." The council chamber had been reconfigured for the occasion. Instead of the usual circular seating arrangement, they had set up a more open forum. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, but this time there was less hostility in the air. The battle at Theta 9 had changed things. You could not argue against people who proved their values through action. Diana Walsh met Stone at the entrance. The ambassador looked exhausted but satisfied. "Ready." "No." Good, neither was I when I started this job. Come on. They walked to the center of the chamber together. Stone felt hundreds of eyes on her, judging. Evaluating, she was used to command situations where her authority was clear. This was different. These people did not have to listen to her. They did not have to care what she thought. Speaker Meridian rose, their crystalline form catching the light. Captain Rebecca Stone of Earth, you have been invited to address this council regarding the formation of a new peacekeeping initiative. The floor is yours. Stone took a breath. Forget the speech Diana had helped her write. Forget the political language and diplomatic phrasing. Just tell the truth. 3 months ago, I made a choice. I could follow orders and let people die, or I could disobey and save them. I chose to save them. 3 Draylen commanders made the same choice. They risked their careers, maybe their lives, to do what was right. She gestured to where Commander Yevris sat with his officers. They're the real heroes of Theta 9. You are being modest, Captain, Meridian said gently. No, I'm being accurate. The Sentinel is just a ship, metal and engines and weapons. What matters is the people who serve on it and why they serve. My crew has made sacrifices most of you can't imagine. They've lived in secret for years, missed their children growing up, lost relationships because they couldn't explain where they were or what they were doing. They did it because they believed protecting innocent lives was worth any cost. The chamber was completely silent now. Stone continued. But we can't do it alone. The galaxy is too big. The threats are too many. We need more than one ship. We need a real coalition. Species working together not for trade benefits or military alliances, but because it's the right thing to do. Rillan stood. The Telleran Republic has already committed 3 ships to this effort. Our crews are training with Sentinel personnel now. Yevris rose as well. The Draylen crews who fought at Theta 9 have been officially reassigned to the coalition. We are no longer considered traitors, but pioneers. The Empire is contributing 5 more ships. One by one, other representatives stood. The Ventari Assembly, the Orlan Trade Collective, species Stone had never even heard of, each one pledging ships, personnel, resources, not all of them, of course. Some species remained seated, skeptical, or afraid. But enough stood that Stone felt something loosen in her chest. This coalition will operate under specific principles, Diana announced. Stepping forward, protection of civilian life is the primary mission. No member species can use coalition resources for territorial expansion or political leverage. All actions must be approved by a rotating command structure, and most importantly, anyone can leave at any time. This is voluntary cooperation, not a military alliance. Admiral Court entered the chamber late, his scaled face unreadable. Stone tensed, remembering his threats, but he walked to the center and faced her directly. I was wrong, he said simply. I chose politics over lives. Commander Yevris showed me what honor really means. The Draylen Empire will support this coalition, not control it, support it. He extended his hand. Stone took it, the gesture awkward between their different physiologies but sincere. 4 months later, Stone stood in her quarters aboard the Sentinel, now officially designated the flagship of the Galactic Protection Coalition. The ship was no longer crewed only by humans. Telleran navigators, Draylen engineers, Ventari communications specialists, 50 different species working together. A drawing hung on her wall, given to her by Lyra. It showed the Sentinel as a great hand, curved protectively around smaller ships. Above it, written in careful lettering, were the words, "We remember what you taught us." Tors knocked and entered. Captain, we have a distress call. Civilian transport under attack in Sector 7. Stone smiled. Some things never changed. How long to intercept? 4 hours. Then let's not keep them waiting. The Sentinel turned, no longer hiding, no longer secret. Behind it flew a fleet of ships from a dozen worlds, all united by a simple truth humanity had shown them. The strong protect the weak. Always, no matter the cost.